I think if you strongly believe in something, it's possible to achieve almost anything. This is actually the weather in Bergen tomorrow. I strongly believe in that because we're going to go hiking in the mountains, so it's better be good. So, okay, let's get serious. I think that we Norwegians, we are fat, lazy, and we are also beautiful. And I will tell you more about that. Half of the Norwegian household plans to renovate their home next year. And this is a picture you find on a lot of blogs in Norway, especially the pink blogs. This is basically what you should look like. But at the same time, we are getting fatter, and we have statistics on that as well. Because around 60% of the men have a BMI below average, and around 35%, I think, has a BMI in the women population beyond average. But we are training a lot, and there's a lot of studios growing up now, health studios in Norway. Especially in Oslo, it's popping up everywhere, and it's a huge industry. The training industry is taking off, but still we are getting fatter. So I'm thinking about what's happening here. And I think we have a challenge ahead of us. There's also a lot of coffee shops coming up. And this is the lazy part. We love sitting out, having coffee in the breaks, and I see it in Oslo more and more, that people are more at the coffee shops than are actually working. But maybe they are working more hours, I don't know. But it's a challenge also that I think we don't have the right spirit to take Norway to the next level if we are only interested in sitting, drinking coffee at the coffee shop. We should do something really, really hard as well. And all the women of Norway, their main thing is to renovate houses. That's exactly what they're planning, and that's what they're working on. Approximately half of the households in Norway are planning to renovate their homes during next year. That's quite amazing. We are #1 in the world using money on our houses. And we are living in a kind of economical bubble, I think. And in 2007, there were 127 coffee bars in Norway. There are predictions now we are going to go for 400 coffee shops during the next years. So it's an exploding thing. Okay. We have this oil fund, the pension fund, which is running fast to $1,000 trillion the next year. And for sure, that's a huge opportunity as I see it. But at the same time, I think this is a kind of sleeping pillow for development, especially regarding entrepreneurship. And it's growing very, very fast. If you go to Norges Bank, the Norwegian bank's official site, you can see actually, second for second, how the money is pouring into the state economy. Before, it was really good. It was fun to be in the oil industry, oil and gas industry. From 72 until now, it's been booming. Actually, the oil production peaked in 2000, but then basically we were saved by gas. So yeah, there are still potential, but for sure, we know that we are over the edge. And I think we see the sun going down, basically, on the oil and gas industry in Norway. The investment will drop approximately 10% next year. And that's really dramatic. And I think we really we have to start pushing the next, let's say, version of Norway. Let's call it 4.0 or something like that, but we have to start pushing that. And the most interesting thing the last couple of days was actually that the king himself said we have to start doing something else at the opening of Stortinget. This is another thing I've been saying, actually on TV the other day, if you saw the 21 News TV2, about saying no to the Olympic Games. Because I think that we are really covered here in this country. We have all this money, we have all these opportunities. Why don't we do something? Why don't we really, really try to define what we are and try to come up with good strategies as we go ahead? The Vikings, they were for sure brave. They went out in the world. They discovered US, first Europeans who got to the US. They went to Istanbul. They were the lifeguard of the Pope and so on. They were really pushing it. I think that Norway has also a potential if we take a little bit of this Viking spirit back again and try to be a little bit more brave. What we do also as investors, as private persons, we put our money in a stock exchange based on index and so on. And most of the investments actually end up in oil and gas today and property. Because property is very, very lucrative for Norwegians. You can save tax if you invest in property. And 90% of the export guarantees goes to oil and gas services. 90%. It means most of what we are selling is actually related to the sector. And this is really, really dramatic. And it is a sign for me that we have huge challenges ahead of us. And maybe it will come faster and hit harder than we really think today. This is the Innovation Union scoreboard for this year. And Norway is basically down in the yellow line here. It's like moderate innovators. And with this oil fund, we should have no problem beating the Swedish. Again, beating the Swedish. Isn't that a good thing? Because they are leading this thing. They are the most innovative country in Europe. And we love to hit them. So I think this will be the next challenge, to beat the Swedish on the innovation side as well. So I have some ideas on what we can do. Some of them are a little bit controversial for sure, but I think there are some basic things we should consider. Number one, civil wages. In Norway, we call it borgerlønn, and borgerlønn, it's not a good word. No, people don't like it. But basically, we have it already, because we have 1.3 million people who are on this NAV system, which is the Norwegian Labor and Welfare Administration, taking out like $70 trillion every year without having to work. And for sure, some of them are older people that shouldn't work and stuff like that. But there's a lot of people in the system that can actually contribute. So I think, why don't we transfer the system into something more positive? Instead of getting money without having to do something, maybe getting money to do what you want for a period in life. Maybe go in and do an entrepreneurial activity, set up a startup, contribute in a startup, take some courses or whatever. I think we are very passive. And this system we have now can also be something that could really hit us in the future. I know it will. It's all a matter of time. Education and science, for sure. I think we use approximately 3.7% of the budget on research and development. And that's not bad at all. But like, regarding statistics, we are one of the countries in the world who are using most money in this field. But what do we get out of it? I see a lot of science. I see a lot of interesting projects, both in Trondheim, here in Bergen, Oslo, Stavanger, but they are not commercialized. So I think we have a challenge. It's not all about asking for more money, but how can we actually use the money that we are putting into the sector more efficient? Green economy. I think there's a lot of opportunities here for Norway because we have this fund again. We can use it proactive. We can see what we did now regarding introduction of electric cars in Norway. We were driving a Tesla from the airport yesterday. Interesting. Interesting acceleration, I would say. So Norway has opportunities. Maybe the next thing we should do is introduce hydrogenic cars, or find ways where we can use the economy to stimulate a green development. And there is a lot of interesting technologies, not only Norway, but the rest of the world. Why don't we use some of this oil money to actually take up some good technology projects? It's not 100% important for me that they are in Norway. It could be in Brazil or Colombia or wherever, India. It's all about seeing opportunities which we can invest in. And then for sure, taxation on property. Because as I also mentioned, it's very lucrative in Norway to invest in property. If we come up with a national solution on this, a national taxation, then no particular group will be hurt, and we can transfer money from property into development. So basically, that's my idea. And for sure, invest in startups. That's where my heart is, basically. And I think if we want to invest in startups, we need tax incentives for investors, because today, it's the best startups in my community. We send them to Singapore, to New York, or Silicon Valley. The best companies will not be funded in Norway. They will be funded somewhere else. And that's a pity. So we need to do something to attract more private money. I also think we need tax incentives for entrepreneurs. Because basically, today, if you are an entrepreneur, especially if you are in a successful startup, you can end up in a lot of problems. You can end up going to jail. You can end up having the tax authorities all over you before you even know it. And maybe you have to take up a loan to pay tax before you even had cash flow in your company. It's a crazy system. We have to change this. We have to stimulate startups and doing it over the tax system. I also think that we should set up, we can for sure afford it, we can set up an investment company where we take money from the oil fund and some private money and actually start investing in company. Like today we have a system called Innovation Norway. More or less they are throwing money at companies, and a lot of this money is actually also thrown out the window, I have to say. I have nothing against Innovation Norway. I think it could be a good vehicle, but I think we need something more. We need to start investing in startups. And especially when we don't have an investor community who are interested in doing this. There's a small group around me who actually do it, but we need more people involved in this. And I think also to support innovation where it happens. Like now, we were discussing yesterday about a really good idea, and I just had to say to the entrepreneur, I don't think you have any money available here in Oslo for you, but if you go up to Finnmark or to Bodø or to Snåsa or whatever, there's a lot of money out there. So I think it's really, really stupid not to put money into the, let's say, the university environments, because that's where the innovation happens. A lot of innovation happens. And in Norway, the politicians has been against it. They want development out there, not in the cities. So I think this is a challenge for Norway as a country, because we are competing against the rest of the world, basically. And I think also we should build ecosystem for entrepreneurship. And ecosystem is a lot. I will not go into detail on that, because that's another lecture. But basically, it's all about fueling up environments that could be beneficial for entrepreneurs and stimulate entrepreneurship. It could be events. It could be like other co-working spaces where people can meet and learn from other entrepreneurs and so on. Today, there are no money available for this in Norway. Not in the cities. If you go outside the cities again, okay, all right. There you got some money. So I think this is also a challenge we have. And let's try to go where the future is as a country. Let's try to see what's ahead of us and what position can Norway take in this picture. We should develop brave strategies. We have the Viking tradition. I will not say that everything the Vikings did was good. No, that's for sure. But they were brave. They went out there. You can see some of the same culture in Iceland today. And the interesting thing is you are allowed to go out and do brave things, but you always have a safe haven when you get home. And I think to really go out there and say, okay, let's do something really, really good for the environment. Not only talking about it on these big summits, but actually put some money into it and say, let's go. Breaking new ground. It's all about seeing opportunities that others don't see. And I think regarding this point, it's all about getting people involved. Because you cannot sit in the governmental level and tell what we're going to do, basically, on a detailed level. But if you stimulate people out there, make them contribute, make them set up their own ideas, their own startups, and you support that, I think that could be a really good thing for Norway. So I think I will just stop there. Normally I'm doing this investor pitch for 7 minutes, so this has been a long speech for me. So you can contact me on this thing, but thank you very much, and looking forward to see you later. Thank you.